We're with Dr. Steve Hotze at the Hotze Health and Wellness Center in Katy, Texas today. Dr. Hotze has filed a lawsuit against the federal government on the ObamaCare issue that's taking kind of a unique approach. It is now appearing before the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. Doctor, tell us the basis about this lawsuit.
Well, thanks for asking, Bob. This lawsuit is styled Hotze v. Sebelius. Sebelius is Kathleen Sebelius, who is the Director of Health and Human Services, or the Secretary of Health and Human Services in the federal government in the Obama administration. This lawsuit has been filed as of May 7th, 2013 in federal district court here in Houston. The federal government at that time made a motion that it be dismissed on the grounds that I didn't have standing and the suit wasn't ripe for consideration because it wasn't going to take place for another year. Those are called procedural issues. And in her decision, Judge Atlas just said that, no, Dr. Hotze does have standing and the suit is ripe. She agreed with the government that the challenges that are brought against Obamacare were not good, and she said Obamacare was constitutional. Well, we expected that. She was a Clinton appointee, and we didn't really care what happened in the federal district court because our goal was to get to the Fifth Circuit. Now, the two issues that we raise in this lawsuit are very important, and they're issues that haven't been raised before in a lawsuit against Obamacare. And the NFIB suit, the National Federation of Independent Business lawsuit that went to the Supreme Court about a year ago, did not take up the two key issues that we raised. First is that this violates the origination clause. That is, Obamacare violates the origination clause. The origination clause is Article 1, Section 7 of the U.S. Constitution, which says that every tax bill, revenue bill, has to start in the House of Representatives. It can't start in the Senate. Well, Obamacare started as a tax credit bill for veterans, military veterans, in the House. It went to the Senate. They stripped out the entire language and the title, and they shoved in Obamacare. So what they did is now they have a tax revenue raising bill that they have put in the Senate, and they sent it back to the House. If the Senate can do that, then there's no origination clause because the Senate could turn any bill that came from the House into a tax raising bill, and that's wrong. And so this is being challenged, that the Senate is taking unprecedented rights away from the House. The second challenge is the takings clause, which is the Fifth Amendment. The federal government cannot force a business to do business with another business. It can't force an individual to purchase an item. This particular bill forces individuals and forces businesses to do business with insurance companies. It would like to be like the federal government saying everybody has to buy a car, and if you don't buy a car, we're going to make you pay a penalty. They can't do that. Now, the government can take our money, steal our money through taxation, and they can give it to people in entitlement programs, but they can't force us to give our money to somebody else in a business transaction. That's called the takings clause. So that's the Fifth Amendment. So we bring up those two issues. Now, on February 24th, when the ruling came down, our attorney, Andy Schlafly, appealed immediately to the Fifth Circuit, and it was granted. The briefs are due in the Fifth Circuit by both our side, the plaintiff's side, and by the government side on April 24th of this year, 2014. That's right. In the interim, I have met with Senator John Cornyn and visited with Governor-to-be Abbott, we'll call him Attorney General Greg Abbott right now, and asked them both to file an amicus brief, and both have agreed to do that. Senator Cornyn's amicus brief, which is, amicus means friend in Latin, an amicus brief is a friend of the court, a friend of the plaintiff. He's filing a suit, he's filing a brief, an amicus brief in favor of my lawsuit. Senator Cornyn is, as is Attorney General Abbott. Senator Cornyn is circulating this brief among the Republican U.S. senators and the Republican congressmen. Attorney General Abbott is circulating the brief among the Republican attorney generals. No other lawsuit, even the NFIB lawsuit, only had Republican attorney generals sign on to that brief in support of that lawsuit. They didn't have an amicus brief out of the Congress. So this will have substantial support from Republican senators and congressmen and Republican attorney generals. And this support will give added weight and credibility to the lawsuit. I like to say it puts starch into the robes of the judges, because the judges in the Fifth Circuit tend to be the most conservative of all the judges in any appellate court in the country. Mind you, there are hundreds of federal district courts. There are only 13 federal appellate courts, and then there's one Supreme Court. So this is the Fifth Circuit Court. It's out of New Orleans. It governs and rules over all lawsuits from Texas, Mississippi, and Louisiana. So we anticipate that the Fifth Circuit, because of its conservative predilections, will favor all or part of our lawsuit, in which it will cripple Obamacare. And we believe that's going to be the turning point. Now, it will then be, at some point, appealed to the Supreme Court. Now, you might say, well, you lost in the Supreme Court beforehand. Yes, we lost 5-4. 4 conservatives, 4 liberals, and then Judge Roberts said, well, this is a tax, although it never in Obamacare said it was a tax. He said the fees were a tax. And in the dissenting opinion, the judges said, well, if it's a tax, what about the origination clause? So we believe this may be set up for us just right, that if it gets to Justice Roberts, he would agree with overruling this on the origination clause. So we feel very confident in going forward. Now, this is a huge issue because election season is coming up. We got the general elections coming up in November of this year. So this is going to be the main issue in the election, is Obamacare right now. On all polls show Obamacare is number one, and it shows that Obamacare, the majority of people oppose Obamacare, and we know what the disaster it's been so far. The president keeps putting it off independently, although he doesn't have the right to do that, and I don't agree with Obamacare, but he's acting like he's a dictator, that he can just change the law. He doesn't have the right to change the law, but he just, by fiat, is changing the law, which is a grave concern to any constitutionalist, a supporter of the Constitution, would say he's really treading on thin water in his actions on Obamacare. But we know that it's been a disaster, and that's why he's had to postpone things. And he wants to postpone this so he gets by the elections. That's what his real purpose is.
So the timeline on this, the briefs are due in about 3 weeks. When do oral arguments happen?
Oral arguments would happen. So the briefs of myself, the plaintiff, and the government come in April 24th. The amicus briefs from Abbott and from Senator Cornyn will come in on the 30th.
Okay.
After that, it may be about 2 months. They'll check the briefs, read them, and then there'll be oral arguments. Oral arguments should occur before July 1st. And then it's how fast the court determines to rule. It could rule in a month, it could wait a year, but I anticipate, knowing the makeup of that court, that they will have a decision before the elections, I would anticipate.
And is this going to be an en banc court, or will it be?
Well, it'll be a panel. There'll be a panel.
Okay.
A 3-judge panel. And depending upon the ruling we get, now there are 9 members of that court, and there'll be 3 picked randomly to be a part of the panel. And if the panel goes with this, and the government could ask for en banc, but it's a conservative court, they probably wouldn't. If it went against us, we could ask for an en banc as a conservative court if we do 3 bad names. But we know that court's conservative. We feel very confident with our position, the claims that we make in our lawsuit, and the support that we're going to have from the United States congressmen and senators and from Republican attorney generals. We feel very confident that we're going to have a win here. A W in the win column is what we're talking about here. And, this is my philosophy, Bob, and for all of those that are listening. Look, you got two choices in life. You can sit in the stands and watch the game, or you can get up in the batter box and swing the bat. And my philosophy has always been, give me that bat and get me in the batter box and let me start swinging. maybe I'll get a single, maybe I'll hit a double, maybe I'll hit a triple, maybe we'll hit a home run, maybe I'll strike out, but I'm gonna go down swinging. I'm not, and this is what we have to do on the Obamacare lawsuit, is keep hammering away at it. My suit is one of 100 suits that have been filed against it, but according to sources that analyze lawsuits in Washington, D.C., our suit is considered the #1 lawsuit that could cripple Obamacare.
That will really be an impressive victory for you.
It'd be tremendous. It'd be great for the country. And the reason I'm doing this is not just to protect my own personal interests as a businessman, as an owner of a business with over 100 on staff. We have 3 businesses here. We have Hotze Health and Wellness Center, Hotze Vitamin Store, and Hotze Pharmacy with over 100 employees. They all belong to a management team. So that affects our insurance rates are going to be affected. I do know how to work within that current system to help protect myself from the adverse effects of Obamacare. There are certain ways that you can work your insurance policies that you've had in place. A lot of small businesses don't have the wherewithal, they don't have the legal counsel, the good accounting counsel to know exactly how to handle this, and they're going to see their rates go up 30, 40, 50%. And what's going to happen is they're going to have to make a choice. That's out of their bottom line.
Right.
And in many of them are going to have to either lay off employees to get under the 50 employment rule, or not give any more insurance and make the people go to a pool. But it's going to damage small businesses. They're going to be less profitable or unprofitable because of Obamacare, or their own employees are going to lose the insurance that they used to have, and then they're going to have to go to these health exchanges where their insurance is dramatically higher than what they were paying. They're going to have to pay for it all. And many of them are going to say, we'll just pay a penalty rather than buy the insurance, so they're not going to have insurance. So really, in the outcome of this is very probably going to be less people are going to have insurance coverage than currently have now.
Well, Doctor, we look forward to following this through as we go into the oral arguments. I'd like to get back with you after that and
Sure.
kind of get your reaction, engaging of what the questions were from the judges,
Sure.
and kind of a prediction on what their ruling might be. I know they're hard to read sometimes, but be interesting to see what your thoughts are after that. Thank you for taking this time to
Bob,
defend
thanks.
the people and
Thank you so
talking
much.
to Breitbart, Texas today. So
You bet.
appreciate it.
You're welcome.